All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Christian Kuntz Podcast. I'm here with my boys Vinny and Trey. Same intro as always. Trey's gonna make fun of me and flame me, but I can't figure out a new intro right now. We got Jesse behind the boards. We are joined by a very special guest, a guy that my dad asks me every week who I'm having on my podcast. And I told him I was having Dorin Dickerson on. Welcome, Dorin Dickerson.
I appreciate it.
Yes. My dad followed up with saying, he paused for a minute. He was like, wait a minute. He's like, he pushed off in the corner of the end zone against Jimmy when at Moon High School. I'll never forget it.
Damn.
West State played Char Valley. My older brother was guarding Dorin. Dorin pushed off in the end zone, caught a touchdown. They didn't call the flag. But that's what my dad remembered from Dorin.
Is that
true?
No, it's not true. He's making that up. Jimmy, I jumped right over Jimmy, and Jimmy knows that too. He even brought that up. Jimmy was like 5'2".
So then I called Jimmy after I talked to my dad. I told him, and Jimmy goes, yeah, well, for some reason, he was matched up on Dorin. Jimmy's like, I ran a 4.10. That's what he says. He's like, Dorin ran a 4.3. He's like, he ran a straight go. He was like 12 yards past him, and they just threw the ball.
Your dad
exactly
remembers
right.
it visibly as
Dude,
pushed off.
Way different.
It's kind of funny because I remember exactly what end zone it was in. That corner right end zone by their little
Concession stand there,
concession stand. Yeah, I remember.
So
I remember.
was it like at least like a little
No,
flipper?
No. He wasn't even in the picture. Like I'll send you to the game, and you'll see that there's nobody else in the picture but me
That's hilarious.
because I blew past him.
That's
And then,
real.
and then another thing that got brought up is, I got to give a shout out to the best athlete from West Allegheny, Mike Barrett.
Actually, Mike Barrett was actually a really good athlete. I
He
ain't gonna
is,
lie.
dude.
I mean, he played football when we were younger, and he would score every time he would get the ball. Then he stopped playing football, focused on basketball.
Yeah.
Came out his junior year, and then was still a dog.
Dude, Barrett's the best. And shout out to Barrett if he's listening. He probably doesn't listen, but I told my brother I'd give Barrett a shout out because he'd love
That's
it.
my man. That's my man.
Scoring, I want to talk about, your story and everything that transpired from West Allegheny, Coach Palko. You were a top whatever recruit, and we talked a little bit about, you getting NIL money. You would have raked it in. I'm sorry that you're a little older for that.
Yeah.
But take me back to, growing up. Like, I don't even really know your story. West Day, like, what was it like growing up there, knowing that you were going to go to play for Coach Palko, who obviously I know is a huge mentor in your life. So walk us through that.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, my uncle was one of the first black head coaches in college football at Temple. He coached at Penn State. He coached at Pitt, and Joe Paul gave him the opportunity. He won the national championship in '86 at Penn State, and he was a defensive backs coach, and he had coached at many places before that, and he gave him the opportunity. Was like, listen, I know that Temple needs a head coach. Would you be ready to do that? And my uncle was like, yeah. So he was one of the first black head coaches in college football back then. So, like, football's been in my family a long time. Like, I mean, my cousins were Mr. Ohio. They both were. They're brothers. I have my other cousin who was really my uncle. He won 2 national championships with Nebraska. My other cousin, he played at Louisville. My cousin, Ron Jr., who was Ron Dickerson, my uncle, who was the head coach, he played at Arkansas, played in the NFL. So I have a football family, and my dad was a coach for 20 years too.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, so I mean, my family, we're really into football, and like growing up, I just remember, my dad always set examples, but he would never like push me. He would never like make sure. He would never, you got to do this, you got to do that. His method always was, and this, I mean, going back when I was like 5 or 6 years old. Like, if I see him do it, I'll want to do it. And your dad's your hero, right?
Yeah.
Like, your dad's your hero and everything. So my dad would be in the basement. I'd be 5, 6 years old. He'd be jumping rope. And he would, like, look at me. And then he'd be like, you want to try? I'm like, yeah, I want to try. I want to be like Dad. So then I would start jumping rope when I was 5. And then when I was 6 years old, I'd be doing 100 cuts a night. And I was 7, 200 cuts a night. Boom, boom, boom. My dad would be like, you see that hill behind our house? He was like, there's kids out there that's running that hill. So he would psychologically, not in a bad way, but like be like, hey, there's other kids out there that could run that hill. Can you run it? I'm like, yeah, I can run it.
Yeah.
And I'd run hill every day.
I know you're still playing that psychological warfare with your kids.
All day.
Like,
all day.
I see it in your Instagram stories and stuff. Like, you
All
having
day.
your kids do, like, they're catching balls on the couch.
Yep, all day, all day. And, I really thank my dad for building that, that a foundation in my mind at a really, really young age. And then, I had the opportunity. I lived directly across the street from Jimmy Capizzoli, his name was, and he was the first quarterback to win a Whippeal at West Allegheny, and he was 5'6". I mean, he was a small quarterback, tough. He won Whippeals at wrestling too. He was a really tough guy, but he'd always have like the big time players of West A over his house, and he's like 8 years older than me. I was like 8. I was 8 at the time whenever they won. And I would always go over there and try to ask them questions and stuff, and they push me away like I was like a little kid. But I saw that, and I was like, I want to do that one day. I want to win at West Allegheny. I want to be a part of that. And that was the first Bob Pelco championship team. And then Tyler came along. He's 4 years older than me. They won 3 Whippeals in a row. So
oh my gosh,
that kind of set the foundation of wanting to be a great football player, but also wanting to win. How important it is just to win and not just be an individual. And Palko really embraced that in our community. And he set that standard, that culture. I mean, it was from top to bottom. When I was in youth football, it was the same thing that it was happening in high school. So, that's kind of how I got started and falling in love with football. And, my dad always pushing me in that way to make it fun, but also compete too. I was always competing, and I didn't even know I was competing.
Yeah, you were always doing something the psychological warfare. That stuff's so true. My uncles and cousins would throw $1 on the floor, and they'd be like, all right, you and your brother wrestle for this.
Right.
I'm like, dude, I'm 4 years younger than I'm like, but I'd still wrestle for the dollar.
Right.
I'd be crying, what the hell?
Dude, that's healthy.
That's healthy. I think that's what makes guys triggered a little differently.
Well, look where you're at now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look back at those times, and it's funny, but there was a method to that madness. You were the younger brother, probably getting beat up. I mean, that's how it goes, right, with younger brothers. But that made you who you are right now, and to be able to wear your city's colors. I mean, that's cool. That's dream stuff.
It's cool. It's cool. I wanna. I talked to Coach Pelco especially when he was at Lebo. We got a little closer because I'd always go up there and snap at Lebo and whatever and train. And one thing I noticed, and you can attest to this, but is he super detailed with special teams?
Yeah, that's his forte.
Dude, I love that. I would go up there, and this dude, you don't see very many high school coaches being that. This dude knows special teams, and it shows in dude, he went to Lebo and won a state title. He won how many at West A? So the fact that when I went up there and I was snapping and doing my own thing, they never bugged me. They let me snap on the field when he was practicing, cool shit. He would be working special teams, special teams periods longer than his offensive defensive periods, and that just says a lot about high school football. You could win games on special teams.
I mean, it makes sense, though. You look at a lot of his kids who are playing around in college football right now, they're on special teams. They're also making impact plays for Navy and other schools. So, shout out to Palko, man. He's been doing it for a long time, man. I think he's at Penn State right now.
He's at Penn State.
Yeah, he's at Penn State
right now. He gave me a call. I talked to their snapper last year. He called me in the summer just to pick his brain about special teams, but shit, Penn State had a good season. I know you guys don't want to.
Yeah, they had a good season. You got to give it to them.
Call spade a spade.
Yeah,
whoop Duquesne's ass. That's all I know.
We need to talk about that too. Pitt Duquesne schedule just came out.
How you feel?
I'll take the points.
What's the points?
It's got to be a lot.
Well, it's got to be the Florida State line, right?
Yeah, it's got to be at least 40 something. You guys did something dirty to Youngstown this past year.
Yes.
Bro, that was crazy.
No, was that Kent State or Youngstown?
That was Youngstown.
Yeah,
Kent State was a close game, but you something dirty went on in Youngstown. You beat them by 70.
Oh, that's what you get. You poke the bear. You
Did
mess with the bull.
Did Youngstown poke Pitt?
Well, you're trying to poke Pitt.
I'm not poking.
That's what's going to happen.
I'm not poking. I might poke a little fun jazz at YouTube, but I'm not making. That's nothing.
I know Aaron Reed's poking. I mean, that's all he does. I get text messages from Aaron Reed. He was All-American, right?
He was.
Just like yourself at Duquesne. He's like, oh, Pitt ain't got nothing. We're gonna be ready. We're gonna go to training camp. And we're gonna be hitting every day. I'm like, you don't coach or nothing. How you know? What are they gonna be doing down there? You're just sitting here talking.
Just talking to talk.
That'll be a cool game though. So I'm excited about. I will definitely try to be on the sidelines for that one. On Duquesne sidelines, obviously. I hope you're on Pitt sidelines.
All right, I'm talking shit from a distance. You're just gonna know it's me. I'm just gonna be staring at you like this. Me and Dorin just gonna be staring at you
the whole time. Whole time.
That'll be a fun game.
I think that's a great idea.
I hope it's a great crowd. I hope it's a Pitt shows out. Obviously they got a little more fans than Duquesne does, but I hope it's a pretty decent crowd for the boys to play in.
I honestly think moving forward, I mean, obviously this kind of popped up on the schedule. I mean, if it's not every year, I mean, why not do a scrimmage with Duquesne during training camp? Break it up. I feel like college programs college football needs to have exhibitions during training camp because you're just hitting the same guys. You don't really learn anything, for a month. Have an exhibition, controlled scrimmage with Duquesne. They're right here, and let people come in and watch it, some alum or whatever. 100%. I think they should do that.
That's a great idea.
Dude, I think I went and watched your Pitt training camp at Gateway. Did you do training camp at Gateway one year?
You know what? Spring ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I came and watched because my dad's from Monroeville area, so we came out and watched.
Wow.
They should do something similar to that and let Pitt scrimmage do like you probably were in college at the time where I was in college at the time. We had 2-a-days.
Oh yeah.
So like we were scrimmaging against the same guys every day.
I was the last
yeah.
one.
Well, we were that year.
It was tough.
And now they have to hit each other all day, but they get 2 practices and helmets and then no pads.
And they get money.
And they get money.
And they get
So,
money.
like, I mean, they got it easy. Like, I mean,
They do. Well,
Talk about 2-a-days, though.
2-a-days are crazy.
Like, keep it real. Like, these young kids don't know about 2-a-days.
No.
I know you know. I know we all know. Talk about 2 days for real. Like, what that
I remember
is like.
3-a-days, dude.
You
Do you remember those
Dude,
two?
3-a-days in high school. Wow.
high school, yeah.
3-a-days.
Yep.
That's abuse.
I
That's
mean,
literally abuse.
it's
dude.
terrible.
Considering nowadays, but you got to think also, like, think about how gritty those athletes were at the time. Like, if you want to talk about 3 days back in the day, Bill Fralick's, the guys who literally put you in and smack you across your face, drink a beer at halftime and call it a day.
Smoke a cigarette.
Right. Yeah, the 3-a-day shit's crazy.
Bring
Crazy.
that NFL back, dude. Cigarettes at halftime.
Yeah,
Right.
You know, on the sidelines with a cigar.
TikToking with cigarettes. Yeah, look at this TikTok quick clip. Yeah, all right.
Great, dude.
I remember 2 days. I mean, I was in the old CBA in 2010. That was the last year of the old CBA where we had 2 days in the NFL. And I was in Houston.
God.
And the heat index every day was like a 110. And what I remember about 2 days, I mean, obviously it was so hard. But I remember like having to put my cleats back on to go out for the second practice, and it was waterlogged. It was like, like it was so hot and so tough, and like there was no like you couldn't be on the field longer than 2 hours. Like we were on there 3 hours of practice, NFL, high level competing. It was brutal.
You had to walk across that bridge in Houston. The
Walk
same
across
thing.
the bridge, yep.
I was there for rookie mini camp, and I
Yep.
just remember it's hot as hell, dude.
Oh, my God.
Walking across the bridge, you step out of the stadium and you're like, oh fuck. And then you got to walk across the bridge. It's brutal down there.
Tough.
See, that's something to me. Like, I miss old school football in terms of just like how guys used to play, yeah, but like just the whole system and structure behind everything. Like, guys are so much more disciplined from that era in terms of just business, lifestyle, right? They're just naturally disciplined.
Yeah.
Nowadays, bro, like they're trying to make as much as they can. I'm not saying it's a bad thing either, but they're trying to make football safer and as less gritty as it naturally is, and honestly, like less of a gladiator sport. It feels like so.
I agree with that. I wanted to talk about what PK Subban said last night about the different cultures of he didn't mention the NFL, but I agreed with him. You know, PK, I don't know if you guys saw Four Nations game last night. PK Subban came out and basically said, you know, the cultures in the NBA and the NHL are different, and you can kind of walk out and go through the motions in the NBA and get away with it, as opposed to the NHL where like you go out and you know a lot more about hockey than I do. So you could, that's why I kind of want to talk about this, but he's saying you can't go out and go through the motions in the NHL. Mm-hmm. And before I ask you your thoughts, like I agree with that to a certain extent, but at the same time I don't, because like you can't go out in the motions in any professional sport. You're going to you walk the dog on, like you're going to get, you are. Like if TJ McConnell goes out in the NBA and he's going through the motions, he's going to get his ass kicked. He will be benched. He will lose his job.
But
Right.
Because in all professional sports, and I know this happens in the NFL as well, guys pick and choose their times in which they're going hard based on how long they've been in the league. So like in the NBA, you got 5 guys.
Right.
This is just my opinion.
Yep.
You got 5 guys, right? 3 of those are veterans. You naturally see most people don't even watch NBA ball until the playoffs in the first place, because guys don't even play defense until they get to playoffs. Like you could watch, like I'm being so serious, and I mean this.
I know.
You could watch a couple games, Christian, where like Steph Curry ain't playing no defense until fourth quarter, and he might not even play defense until playoffs, just because like they have a long ass season. So does hockey though. Hockey's just a little bit different. It's more physical. It's more aggressive, and honestly, it's even faster. I love hockey. I ain't gonna lie.
I do. That was sweet. I don't know. What are your thoughts on his comments with that?
Well, I mean, you know, Trey's right, because like it's almost like a unison type deal. I think in the NBA where like it's like, all right, like we're all just not going to go hard, like, and you can go through the motions because you're not going to get hit in the mouth, like. You know, you're not going to get taken out. Like in hockey, if you step on the ice and you're not going full speed, you'll get wrecked.
You'll get killed.
In football, if you step on the field and you're not going full speed,
You get wrecked.
that's when you get wrecked and you get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, so like those sports, it is a culture thing. And, you know, whenever these kids start playing hockey, they start skating when they're 4, and they're taught that.
Yeah.
Like as soon as they hit that ice and lace up those skates, whenever they're 4 or 5 years old, there is a culture that in a way that you play the sport of hockey, and it goes all the way up to the top. They're all bred that way, and NBA players just aren't. Like, I mean, it's the softest sport. It's not a soft sport. They're some of the best athletes on the planet. But whenever you look at hockey and you look at football, you have the fact of getting your
teeth
head knocked out.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't have to worry about that in the NBA.
They've taken that completely out of the game for NBA, by the way. You can't even hand check. And I know you used to play good defense.
Oh, I used to
That was your
foul,
shit.
bro.
And I know you used to be hand checking all day. You know what I'm saying? That was your
the
shit.
king hand checker.
You know what I'm saying? I'm right here, right?
Yeah.
But they took out the hand check. There's certain things, like you see certain calls, bro. It just looks like, I don't even want to say it like this, because soccer's semi-aggressive too. You know what I'm saying? Like, soccer is aggressive, but in terms of flopping, right? Like, you see a lot of guys not earning their actual foul. Like,
yeah.
And that's why when people ask the question, well, who's better in what eras? Like, each era is completely fucking different, bro. Like, completely different.
I'll just say this. Here's my hot take. I can't do soccer. Like, it's the weakest sport, period.
I can't either.
It's weak.
Oof,
Dude.
it's hard. It is
See,
hard.
I can't do it.
I don't like the whole flopping thing, but that's part of their game. Like
I
they,
know.
And I can't deal
That
with
is
that.
literally
That's
part of the
that's some
game.
soft shit.
Yeah.
It's
There's just not enough action for me either. Like, it's just like
Right.
going back and forth, and then they kick it, and then the goalie gets it, and then it's gonna go all the way back down the field, and they don't even get a shot, and all the way back down, and you're looking at the clock, and there's like 90 minutes. Like, I'm like, what is going on? Like,
Right.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and I don't really understand like the strategy behind soccer. Like you could watch a football game or a basketball game, and you'd be like, all right,
Figure
they're
it
trying
out.
to hammer them inside
Right.
and trying to like get the ball in the post, or they're trying to run the football, control the line of scrimmage. Like I couldn't tell you what soccer's trying to do.
At all.
Anything,
Then
but
he
they're
kicked the
just
ball
trying to
behind you.
score. Yeah, I don't know
What the
why
fuck?
he's kicking it all the way down there.
Right.
Like,
Like, I don't-
why'd he just kick it? Why'd the goalie just like give a 50-50 ball? Like, why not off a goal kick? Like, why not just tap it to your guy and control the possession?
Now,
Why is he booting that bitch like 60 yards?
there is a sport that's more aggressive than football in all the sports. Have you ever watched Australian football or rugby?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
Like,
They're-
Yeah.
those dudes are nuts.
Yeah, Cam Johnston, used to play. He was going to get drafted as a professional.
Your punter?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Bro, he's a freak athlete.
For real?
Really?
Yeah. Jordan Berry, Jordan Berry's like 6'5".
Dang.
6'4", 6'5", 225. Like he was fast as hell.
Damn.
Like when that Aussie got running, like dude, he was fast as shit. And every time he throw the ball like this, like you could tell these guys grew up not throwing like this. Like
Right.
they all, even when they throw, like I snap a short snap, they throw it back like this.
Oh,
really.
Yeah, like
Damn.
it's crazy. So,
Naturally, I'm thinking just.
yeah,
Yeah.
naturally you
Toss,
get the
like,
ball,
yeah.
you throw it back.
Damn.
It's nuts, but I don't know. I agree with PK Subban to an extent, but at the same time, like they still can't go out there. They're gonna get. You can't go through the motions in any professional sport. I do understand the culture is different. You can have 5 guys in the NBA agreeing, like, okay, first quarter, let's.
Yeah, so that's my question. Is this like
Score.
just everybody kind of knows and we don't like talk about it, like, or is like the focus like we got to keep the guys fresh for? And I understand that's an angle, but are we just like cool with that? You know what I mean? Is that the coaches? Is that the mentorship and the leadership that like is there any reason besides keeping people fresh?
I think it's. I mean, it's been like that forever. And you're talking about the NBA.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's been like that forever. Like you just said, Trey. Like when playoffs come around, that's whenever you turn on the NBA because you know they're gonna try.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it's been like that for a long time. I think it's just kind of a, the type of deal where it's like that's what happens. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of that, and then the load management stuff too. Like, I mean, that you can factor that in too.
Yeah, it kind of kills the whole.
I will say this in football for receivers and DBs. I feel like the only time that you really see that in football, like guys taking the play off,
Yeah.
is at receiver and at DB. And the only reason why I say that, because when the run game happens,
Yeah.
don't nobody want to deal with that, bro. Receivers really don't want to block, and DBs really don't want to make that tackle. That's why they always tell you, when you're blocking inside zone, go to the safety, because he actually wants to make the
You
tackle.
come downhill. Yep.
So, like,
A corner's
that's
not
the-
gonna make that tackle.
Bro,
You
ain't
don't
nobody
want to.
trying to do that, bro. Like,
No.
who's tackling Derrick Henry right now as a corner? Happily.
Have fun.
Other than the Gene.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I was definitely that dude in high school though, that if like someone on the other team was like, "Yo, we're taking," you know what I mean? Like I don't like what's like the signal, like did they say like, "Hey, we're"?
There's no sig. There's no.
How do you
signal.
know when they're taking it off?
There's nobody in the NFL that's
called brother-in-law.
Yeah, that you can brother-in-law in practice and stuff, but like nobody in the game is ever giving a signal to like take it easy. Like that will never happen.
But
like,
you might also say, like, chill.
I could see receivers play away. That'd be the only case. Receiver DB, chill
That's
to
about
chill.
it.
You know,
You could tell when somebody comes off the line if like you're a DB,
Yeah.
like how a receiver comes off the line if they're going hard or
What
not.
they're
It's
doing.
like, all right, you're down your stance and they explode off the line. You're like, oh shit. And if they kind of trot off the line, you're like, all right, we're good. It's kind of like a
We
you know,
chilling.
mental thing.
Yeah.
I like to pretend like I would be chilling and then go like real hard.
Yeah, and that's when you would die.
That's when you
somebody
would
would
get
set you up.
cracked.
Yeah. You did next play. You got to worry, but you got to keep your head on a swivel. Like if
Yeah.
you're a corner and like the receiver's trotting off the ball, and then you're like, all right, and then you go blast them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you better keep your head on a swivel for the rest of the game because
Yeah.
that receiver's coming back to get you.
Yeah, I wasn't in the game of like winning the physical battles out there, so like I had to win mental battles. So
Yeah,
like
you were
that's
playing
all I
mini
was doing.
games.
I would pick like the best player on the team and just be like, I have to get in his head by like he's gonna burn me like 3 times. So like I gotta make sure he doesn't know, where I'm at.
Do you play mini games? Like do you talk?
Dude, my first 2 years, I was like a little too chirpy, and I kind of learned like, just shut the fuck up. Like,
What was that moment?
Shoot.
What was
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Did you
Tell us
get-
that
did you-
moment.
did you
there's like,
plead
there's honestly like a couple. Like,
Yeah.
when you start chirping, then they're going to the coach saying, "Yo, let's rush him. Like, I want to kill this motherfucker." Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't even care about blocking the punt at that point. They just want to fuck you up.
You have one
So like
story?
Corey Littleton, he played linebacker. He was
Oh,
drafted in
yeah.
the first round. He was
Yeah,
with Vegas at the time. We played Vegas my rookie year at home, and at that time they were allowed to line up over the long snapper. And when they give that signal, that sucks because we ran. Our wings were back, so we ran an illegal formation, so they were allowed to do that. So they're giving that signal, and I see Corey Littleton. He's like up moving around, and the refs are backing up from the ball, going like this, like you can line up over the center. He gets in a 4-point, and like I might have like picked him to play before, bro. Like he wasn't even blocking me, and I might have got him good and picked him and like said something like smart. Like I should have never said shit. And like the next rep, like we just got in a full blown like wrestling match. Like he just took off the ball, picked me up. I'm like holding onto his back, slams me, we're rolling around on the ground. At that point, I'm like, dude, like that. It was great. Like it made me feel like a football player. Like somebody you're hanging out there snapping, you don't feel like a football player. But like that moment, I felt like a football player. But I was like, dude, I probably got to tone it down a little because like keep quiet, don't say shit.
But you said a couple. What's the other one?
Yeah, it's like
Another one's just like getting schemed up and just getting like hit from the side, or like when you snap and they're in defensive stay and like I don't know, someone tells somebody, yo, fuck up the long side. He's chirping. Someone chirping. Like you put your head up, you're looking at a ball, for a pooch punt, and someone's trying to hit you. Like a DB or linebacker's just sitting there, like boom, one shoulder. So I'm running down the field like this, and you just get a shoulder right to the chest and fall right on your back.
Did you go against Myles Garrett?
I don't say shit to him. Bro, like, and we talked about it, like Mason McCormick, like our guards, like, dude, they're in the heat of battle. They run the ball, and a lot of guys play field goal protection team after they just ran the ball, 80 yards down a defense's, spine, whatever. Like, they're all pissed off. They come out, they're talking shit. They're talking shit on field goal. It's like, come on. Like, I'm like, just chill out.
You're like, guys, I'm new. Like I'm new here.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't a part of that. I was not on offense.
Exactly.
Like, I'm good.
And then like Myles Garrett lines up in the A gap, and like everyone knows he can jump over anybody at any time. Like especially like I'm undersized in there. Obviously I got guard help, but like when he's over there, I just kind of look. I'm just like, come on, bro. Like don't do it. Like don't do it. Like I gotta stand up, and if I clip you, you could get hurt. Like it's not worth it.
I remember one time in practice in Buffalo. You remember Mario Williams? I mean, just a freak of nature, like 6'7", 290 pounds. And I had played with him in Houston a couple years before that, so we knew each other real well. And we had a play. Obviously, I was a tight end where I would like scrape across the line and kick out the DN. And Mario was like good at brother-in-law. Like he was like, hey, and he had a real high voice. He's like, hey man, like honestly, Dorin, like don't be going too hard today, like this. And I was like, I'm about to get him. I'm gonna get him. So I scraped across the line this one play, and I bang, and I was like, man, I laid into him. And he was just looking at me.
Oh, he's pissed.
But didn't even move. He didn't move. Like I thought I got him good. Didn't move. He was like, okay, you want to play like that? All right, I'm gonna get your ass. I'm gonna get your ass, Dorin. And then practice goes on. You tend to forget because like I'm trying to make the team. He's making $100 million. He don't care. Listen.
Lit your ass.
Got me so bad. It was like I was a 10-year-old. He put me into the earth. He put me into the ground. Like there was like a divot of my body into the ground. He's like, I told you I'd get your ass, you little punk bitch. I told you. And I'm like, yeah, I ain't never gonna do that ever again. My bad. So
Was that like your? I want to get into when you went to Pitt and stuff, but now that we're talking about this, was that like your welcome to the NFL moment? Because I want to ask you, like, you're obviously like a freak athlete. You came out of Pitt, you ran whatever. Your combine numbers were fucking insane. What's it like going into? You get drafted in Houston, like going in there. You have the like tangible stuff with everybody on the field. Like, what was the mindset like going in there?
I mean, obviously nerves and everything, but my welcome to the NFL moment was not directly to me. Like, it was the literal first day of OTAs whenever I got there in Houston. And, you know, I'm a third string receiver. So, like, we're the young guys. We're kind of watching the first string. And you remember Bernard Pollard? He played safety with us in Houston. And he played Super Bowl winning safety for the Ravens. And he was a bad dude. Like, he was cheap. He would try to take you out. He'd try to get you. And Dwayne Brown was a fantastic offensive tackle, big-time tackle for 12, 13 years. He's a big dude, big burly dude. And he was our starting left tackle. Literally first play offense, defense.
In OTAs, so no pads.
OTAs, first day. Dwayne Brown kind of gave an extra shove to Bernard, who was trying to blitz off the edge. And Bernard picked him up and dropped him. Picked him up and slammed Dwayne Brown. Bernard did the safety. Picked up Dwayne Brown and just slammed him. And then a whole fight breaks out. And I was like, that was a safety that did that to the tackle? I was like, oh, my God. That was my welcome to the NFL moment. Didn't even have to do with me. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, this is different. This is different.
Especially in OTAs. Because
OTAs.
Two veterans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big fight breaks out.
Usually I feel like OTA fights happen with a rookie trying to make the team with a veteran that's like, come on, bro.
Nah. He set the tone.
Wow.
Yep. You guys talk about NFL fights, though, because I feel like a lot of people think they're more serious than what they actually are. Like, we get into it, but a lot of guys, too, we're not really trying to crush anybody because people got helmets on. Like, we really trying to slam people more than anything. But I want to see from your perspective, like, what are NFL fights
You ever been
like?
in one?
Well, we had the little dude. Come on,
dude.
Come on,
there's obviously been plenty of like fights in my 4-5 training camps now that I've like seen first. Like, I'm like here to here at the fight, and like, dude, I am not.
Come on,
dude. What am I getting into? I'm wearing
scuffs on that helmet.
I'm wearing a white shirt, and like, if you're wearing a white shirt, wearing a yellow shirt, like you hate each other during training camp, but you'll never go. You'll never go against the white shirt if you're a white shirt. You'll never go against the yellow shirt if you're a yellow shirt. I just stay neutral. I ain't getting into it until they start playing like 7 shots for lobster dinner. And then, like, whoever wins, I'll just say I was on that team.
Yeah, right. Switch the jerseys.
You get up to dinner, and they'll be like, are you offense or defense? I'm like, well, who won today? Defense. Well, I was defense today.
Yep.
But now I want to get back on track to, what led you to Pitt. I know, you're a hometown kid. Was Pitt always your dream, staying at home and playing?
No, not at all. Like, I honestly, I didn't know where I wanted to go to school. Like I said, my uncle, he coached at Temple, so I watched Pitt a couple times, like Curtis Martin, going to those games, watching my uncle coach against Pitt. But I told Trey this earlier. My best friend in high school, CJ Davis, he was a year older than me. He had like 10 offers at the time, and he decommitted from Boston College, and then he committed to Kentucky, and he was my best friend. I was like, CJ, I want to go where you're going to school. He's my man. So he was committed to Kentucky, and he wanted to go to Pitt the whole time. And Walt Harris had just got let go from Pitt, and I had an offer from Walt Harris, and I'm a junior in high school. And Wanstead comes in, he's offering all kinds of guys and a lot of Whitfield guys, and he had one scholarship left, and he came in to give me a scholarship. There was one scholarship left after mine. Yeah. He came in to give me another scholarship because he was a new coach. And I looked at Wanstead my junior year, and I was like, Coach, I'm going to be honest with you. If you offer CJ, I'll come to Pitt next year. I'll come to Pitt because I want to follow where CJ's going to school. So I'm going either where he's going to school or you're going to have to give him an offer to come to Pitt. He offered CJ Davis that day. CJ Davis started every single game at Pitt.
Really?
Started guard and then started center every single game since he stepped foot on that campus. I went to Pitt, obviously followed him, became an All-American. I think Dave Wanstead made out in that deal.
Wow.
That's why I went to Pitt.
Wow.
That's why. Yep.
I know. That's a crazy
true story. Yep. True story. And he looked at me and Wanstead, he's like, oh, shit, Dorin. Oh, shit. Right. Is CJ really good? And I'm like, yeah, he's good. Like, yeah. I was like, I'll come to Pitt next year if you offer CJ. Offered him on the spot right there.
So what did you see in him that made you so certain that, like, I'm going wherever he goes?
And you're a loyal-ass friend, by the way.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, CJ believed in me. He would always hype me up. I'll never forget. Like, it was – and I was a freshman. CJ was a sophomore, and he was getting recruited, and he would have, like, this big bin full of letters. I was like, man, like, I wish I can get those letters. He's like, you will one day, trust me. He's like, you just keep doing you. He's like, you will. He would always build me up, and we just had such a great friendship. And he was 6'2", 305 pounds in high school. I mean, he's built like a guard.
Yeah.
Like, and athletic as shit. Like, played hooped and everything. And I was like, yeah, CJ's the best big dude I've ever seen play football.
Right.
And I just knew that he deserved to go to Pitt, and he really wanted to go to Pitt. And I asked that to Wanstead and offered him, and
Wow.
we and it wasn't easy. Clearly, we talked earlier, it wasn't easy for me at Pitt, but it was good for CJ and good for Wanstead because literally CJ did not play in one game in 4 years at Pitt. He started every single game.
Wanstead got a deal there.
Yeah, he did.
He got 2 for 1. He got a deal there.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
So do you have like other unlikely sources of like inspiration like that? So like that's obviously an interesting story, but were there other things that like were speaking into you and like developing you as a man and as an athlete, like maybe behind closed doors that you like, people really don't know off the rip for you?
I'm an only child.
Okay.
And my parents, they really invested a lot into me. My mom passed away in 2017, and I think that they took upon. I never really got the chance to ask her this. I talked to my dad, really obviously close with my dad, but I think they took it upon themselves to just really fully invest into what I'm doing, and that's what every great parent does, and they really fully invested into making me as best as possible. They probably didn't know at the time. They probably had an inkling that I was going to be an athlete, but they were always invested into making me the best as possible and making sure that I was good and having my back, too, with a lot of things. Because I grew up in West Allegheny, predominantly white area, and it wasn't always easy. It was really good, really great people there. But, I was a young black kid in the 90s. Think about it. And a full stop right there. That's all I have to say. So, my parents always did a great job with having my back. And then, I was always kind of pushed to the side and use sports and stuff. And, somebody else would start, I wouldn't start. And, I'm going to tell my son this, and, I'm going to wait till he gets a little older. Like, my dad always taught me that, sometimes you have to outperform coaching. Like, you have to, he's like, I'm going to make you better than the coaching. And not calling the coaches out, whatever. He's like, but you always will have to be better than the coaching that you get.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure that you're better and doing the jump ropes every day. I'll make sure that you give them no choice but to put you in and to make sure that you can go in there and dominate. You give them no choice. You leave them no choice. Put their backs against the wall. So my dad always treated me like that. And then, not the best coaching growing up, obviously, but then I meet great coaching, and then that's when I become one of the best, and that's Bob Pelco.
Yes.
Him coming into my life with all that coming together, my parents and everything having my back, having Bob Pelco, he didn't teach me football. He didn't teach me X's and O's. He taught me how to be a young man, more than anything. That was our relationship. He's like, I'm going to make sure that you do things the right way. There's no shortcuts. You do the little things, like holding doors for people, like the real little things that you don't think about. Yeah. He taught me those things, which bled onto the field, and why I ended up doing what I was doing. So all that coming together really was a perfect storm. And timing's big in life. And my time, I was probably about 6 foot, maybe 180 pounds. My sophomore year in high school, I had a pretty good year, started both ways, but I blew up my junior year. I grew 4 inches, gained like 40 pounds, and football slowed down for me. And and everybody else, every time I got the ball, everybody was going to slow motion but me.
Talk about the slow motion real quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but can you get into that slow motion? You hear people talk about that, and it's like that's when it clicks. But
I actually remember coming home. I played high school football the same time you did in the Whippeals. So I'd come home and be like, man, maybe we got some highlights on it. It's like just Dorin Dickerson highlight up the middle. But you looked like you were playing at a different speed. I remember one day, specifically, I don't remember many stories like this after games, but I remember coming home, turning that on. You had a run right up the middle. I don't know if it was in the playoffs or something, but my dad said, dude, that's an NFL player playing high school football. You could see that speed at that age. And it's crazy to hear you say I felt that too.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm even getting chills if you talk about it. I was also 6'2" at the time, 215 pounds, running a 4.4 at 17 years old. I don't think anybody really wanted to tackle me at the time too. So I just vividly remember whenever it clicked. And honestly, funny story, because my junior year, this is when I just grew. I grew overnight. I'm not even lying. My friends, they called me. They're like, "Hey, let's play some backyard football." And where I lived, there was a big ball field behind my house. My friends are all down there, and I remember getting out of bed, and I was like, "Huh." I was like, I swear to God,
that's crazy.
I remember waking up, I was like, "Oh man!" And I remember opening my drawer, and my dad was coaching for Cornell High School at the time, and there was this Thor God of Thunder blue shirt that he gave me from the high school football team, and I looked at it. And I'm about to go meet my friends down at the ball field. I looked at it. I went to the kitchen. I grabbed some scissors. I cut off the sleeves. I cut it in half, and I made just a half shirt. And I walked down the hill from my house, and I never forget all my buddies looking at me like this, what the fuck? And I was like, y'all ready to play? And they're like, no. What? And then we played, and then it was just
dominating.
It was over. But playing in the games, like I would get the ball and then I'd be like, it was like the Matrix almost.
Right.
Like somebody would dive at me and I'd be like, all right, slide. And then, all right, put your foot in the ground,
crazy.
go forward. And everybody else is kind of reaching and like, all right, knock that down, stiff arm, go. And then I'd be gone. And then all of a sudden I'd black out and be in the end zone.
Dude, I'd do so much to feel that one time on the field.
Hey, Vinny, we could play Madden after this. You can put that shit on rookie mode. That's the only time we're feeling that.
That's crazy.
Did you feel that way when you got to Pitt?
No.
Because you had obviously like that All-American season. I remember that. I mean, you were pretty stepping around people then.
Well,
catching over people, dude. I literally remember some like vivid catches you had, like some little corner routes. Like,
yeah.
Pushing off.
Pushing off,
like my dad said, you pushed off in that corner of the end zone. But yeah, was it like that at Pitt for you?
No, not at all. At first, not at all, because I came in as a receiver. Well, I tore my knee up in the Big 33 practice. So I played in the Big 33 game. I tore my PCL. So I go into Pitt that summer. We started school early, obviously, and I couldn't do anything. And I was obviously big man on campus, and I had a big target on my back. I mean, we had HB Blades, Clint Session, some dogs, like grown men on that Pitt team, Darrell Revis, some big time players that they're like, nah, motherfucker, like you ain't gonna come in here and think that you're big shit from West Allegheny. Fuck that. So I had a big target on my back. So then I get a little bit healthy, and it's not going well at receiver. I wasn't a natural receiver. I was just fast and big. And I was like, I'm a natural running back. So that season goes by my freshman year, and then I go to Wanstead. I was like, I want to play running back. And he's like, okay. He's like, we'll move you to running back in the spring. So first week of spring goes, and I'm playing running back. I'm feeling comfortable. That's my natural position. Literally like 8 days after the first spring ball practice, this is the story that Pat was talking about. Shady commits. LaShawn McCoy commits. Wanstead calls me up to his office. He was like, LaShawn, shit, you know. And he's like, shady, shit. He just committed, shit. So, like, you know, he's going to be the shit. He's going to be the starting running back, shit. He's like, you could either stay, shit, and behind him and you know, try to get some carries, or he's like, we have a spot open at linebacker. And I was like, I'm not a defensive guy. He's like, but shit, you're 6'2", 220 pounds. You know, you're athletic. We just want to get you on the field because it's good for the university, stuff like that. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll move to linebacker. So I moved to linebacker in the spring. Wasn't a defensive guy. Played sparingly, not really that year. And then I'm like, all right, I go to Wanstead. I'm like, I'm probably going to transfer. Like, I'm done. Like, it's not working out. I mean, I'm in the dumps, right? So I go to Wanstead. I was like, Wanstead, I'm thinking about transferring. It's just not working out here. He's like, you know what, Dorin? He's like, you know, I'll never forget the day when you committed. And, you know, he's like, I'm gonna tell you this. You know, you think about it for tonight, but I got to tell you something. He's like, Nate Bynum, and it's Nate Bynum. He would call Nate Bynum. Nate Bynum and John Pelusi. He called him Pelusi, not Pelusi. John Pelusi. He's like, they both have knee injuries, and you know, we have a spot open at tight end. Shit. He's like, you go back to offense. He's like, you go back to offense, you know, and you can see if that works. He's like, that doesn't work. He's like, then you know, you can, you know, I'll bless you with your wishes, and you can go somewhere else. So I moved to tight end, and in the spring, and I'm the only guy, and I tear the spring up. Never put my hand in the ground in my life, and played tight end. I had a great tight ends coach who ended up coaching years and years in the NFL. But then Nate comes back, and he was the starter, and he was all Big East. And that year, my junior year, caught like 2 passes, like didn't do anything. So I'm still in the dumps. Matt Cavanaugh, who was our offense. This is long-winded.
No, you're good.
Keep going. This is
I'm locked in right now.
Matt Cavanaugh was our offensive coordinator for the first 3 years at Pitt.
That's crazy.
And he was a former Pitt quarterback, won national championship. And this is after my junior year. I didn't do anything. I think I scored like 2 touchdowns.
You mean the owner of Ready Performance?
I think it's his brother.
Okay.
That's his brother. Matt Cavanaugh, yeah, he's coaches in the NFL now. But he was our offensive coordinator. He gets fired. And I'm like thinking like, okay, like I'm gonna work as hard as I can. I see that blind faith. I still see that light at the end of the tunnel. I'm working as hard as I can, but I got to graduate and make sure I set myself up for the future, see what I'm going to do. And they hire Frank Signetti Jr., who was just the offensive coordinator at Pitt. And he gets hired, and spring comes around, and it's the same exact offense. Like there's terminology from Matt Cavanaugh, Signetti, same thing. All the different motions, everything was the same. And I'll never forget the first day I met Frank Signetti. I went up to his office, and I was like, hey, coach, I'm Dorin Dickerson. I play tight end. He's like, shit, I know who the fuck you are.
That's big.
He was like, you're fucking 6'2", 230 pounds. He's like, you run a fucking 4.4, we're going to get you the fucking ball. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, I've heard that my whole career at Pitt. You got me the ball, I became an All-American. And that's whenever it slowed down that year. Like, I mean, I had played tight end a little bit, played it for a season, but, you know, everything, the timing thing, it all happened, and I knew the offense. I was faster than everybody. I had played defense before, so I knew where linebackers and defenses were dropping and stunts and blitzes. I knew where everybody was going to be and where I wasn't going to be. So everything kind of melded, and that's where the game did slow down again. And I felt like I was in high school again in college, where there was nobody that like could ever stay with me.
It's kind of crazy because Wanstead transitioning you or wanting to transition you to defense probably helped you in the long run.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, you probably learned so much. Like, okay, this is where because you weren't playing defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, like where everybody would drop, I'd be like, okay, they're going to drop into hook curl right here, so they're going to actually lean more to the outside. So I'm going to break even a yard inside. I'm going to be open. I mean, like stuff like that, blitzes, and then just knowing where guys were going to attack the gaps. Where I would like say you're coming off the line as a tight end. Now we're getting football stuff right now, like where like. You know, how can I get a bead to get off the ball, jump off the ball? So, okay, you're going to go C-gap. You're going to go outside of me. I know I can go straight here.
Yeah.
Like little stuff like that all kind of came together and then met my offensive quality, my mentality, and my athleticism. And then
That's
I
when
had a great year.
Yeah, how deep is that in even professional locker rooms? Like because I think that's like so pivotal. And you know, I've heard other stories where that's been beneficial. You even hear multi-sport athletes and like how you know just the high-end hand-eye coordination you get from like baseball or basketball, how that translates into football. Like, so when you're in a professional locker room, are they like? Is it really insistent that, hey, you got to be in the defensive meetings if you're an offensive guy and vice versa? Or is that, like, not really a thing? Because you would think that makes so much sense to, like, that unlocks a new version and, like, a new reality for you where you're like, oh, I know where they're going to be at. I'm a tight end. And you could maybe play a little bit more flex where, like, you got Travis Kelce that he just looks at Mahomes and Brady did it with Edelman and stuff. And they're like, yeah, we know what we're doing here. And, you know, is that
That's a
reality?
good question because that doesn't really happen.
Why?
Because there's not enough
Why?
time. Because you got to learn what you're doing.
Gotcha.
But like if I were a college coach and during spring,
Or even high
like,
school.
I would, or even high school. Like
Right.
if I had a group of receivers, I'd be like, all right, you're going to go sit in corners meetings this week. Like you're going to learn what they do. Corners, you're going to sit in receivers meetings this week and learn what they do.
Right.
I'd flip flop. I'd make everybody learn everybody else's position so you know what you're going against. Right. You need the ammo to know what you're going against. That doesn't happen. That's a good question.
That's crazy.
But that should happen. It really should happen. But I kind of relate, like, you know, even like myself in playing tight end. I grew up as a wrestler. Like I started wrestling when I was 4. So like leverage, all that stuff, like that muscle memory that I learned when I was like 4 years old. I was like, okay, like balance, like even mental toughness. Like I was like, yeah, this is how you play tight end. Like, I mean, I'm just wrestling. Like, so I've always related all the things that have happened to me and always kind of put it together, used it as fuel to do what I was doing.
Yeah, we talk about Travis Kelce a lot. I feel like he barely runs routes.
Yeah.
He just
He
runs
just goes
to
where he's
open.
open.
He understands where the defense is, and obviously Mahomes does. And those two, that's why he's that's why they're probably the best combo ever.
But you got to have the
Gronk.
playbook and the coach to let you do that too,
Right.
man. Like for what he was saying, like a lot of people don't understand. Like it's not always the player; sometimes it's the system in which that player is playing in. That's why I feel bad for a lot of rookie quarterbacks in these day and ages because like you got Jaden Daniels who he's having a killer year, but if you look at Jaden Daniels' playbook when he played in LSU and now he's playing at the Commanders, they're exact same. So, like, you get a chance to see, like, guys are going to fit in a certain system really well, really fast. Don't get it twisted. Cliff Kingsbury is a great offense coordinator, but when you got a guy that can fit a system, it works itself out. You know what I mean? And sometimes, bro, it literally is wrong place, wrong time. Like, had you been somewhere else, you might have been a linebacker in the NFL. Thank the Lord that you're a long snapper. You know what I'm saying? But You know what I'm saying? But, like, if you had been somewhere else putting up the numbers that you have put up as an All-American in FBS, just one other school who just didn't happen to see you, who knows on what it could be. Now, there's a lot of ifs and what ifs, right?
Yeah.
But, like, when you talk about drafting somebody, when guys said, like, oh, he's a bust, he's not a bust. He just might be in the wrong system. That's why you got Sam Darnold out here killing for Minnesota.
Right.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith killing for Seattle.
Yeah.
Wrong system, wrong time.
How often do you guys think that that's happening where it's a lack of performance compared to like a coaching scheme? Because I know people don't want to deflect all the time and, you know, be like, he was my coach, right? But like in reality, especially in retrospect, you know, you're kind of analyzing the sport from a different angle at this point. But you've been in the locker room and now you're outside of it. So how much you think is like, you know, because I think a lot of the coaches, like they live and die by like, this is the scheme that I've always lived by. And it's like, but times are changing. So like, how often do you think Not that I want you to blame
Often.
coaches. Okay.
Yeah, really often.
Yeah.
Often.
Okay.
I mean,
that's concerning.
the lack of
That's so concerning.
Like the lack of effort
I
in the
hate
NFL.
that.
There's nothing. Like it's more of
Yeah.
it's more money. Like all right, there's a guy in front of you making more money.
Yeah.
Like gotta play him.
Politics.
You're buried in the depth chart. Like you're not going to be on an NFL roster if you like. There's no charity cases in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like you got to be really freaking good to be on an NFL roster. But the timing and the situation, like. I think that I personally made the Texans roster as a receiver my rookie year because there was 4 dudes that got hurt in front of me. Like I probably would have got cut. So like things like that, like, but it's never like lack of like athleticism or effort or knowing what to do. Guys will get not knowing what to do. Guys will get cut. But other stuff, yeah.
Danny Smith says it perfectly. Guys cut themselves.
Yeah.
He says like. Danny's been coaching for 40 years, like in the NFL for like 30 of them. And he says, back in the day, it used to be really hard because like I would have to cut people because dudes like back in the day, like with the mentality and how times have changed, he's like, cutting people back then was so much harder because dudes would lay everything would be on the line. But nowadays, like dudes miss meetings that aren't drafted.
Crazy.
I'm like,
Crazy.
what? Not even drafted, but it's just like, dude, you're here on a. You're a free agent in OTAs. Like you realize you could be cut tomorrow. Like they could have an injury, trade, anything, and dudes are missing meetings.
Wow.
He's like, that shit didn't happen back in the day. Like if you were in the NFL and you got a chance, like you took that shit with pride. Where like it seems like that's not happening as much. Guys are kind of just like, fuck it, I'm here. I can miss a meeting. I could come late. I could lollygag through practice. It's like, dude, if you do a wrong thing in practice in OTAs and they're on your ass and you do it again the next week, you're cut.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're cut. But
Done.
like, they're not going to remind you either. Like, bro, and being like in the locker room now for how many years, whatever, like I will tell guys that come in like, bro, you should work on your punt footwork. Like, instantly when you figure out what team you're going to, like you should work on your punt footwork until you get to rookie minicamp. Because if you come to rookie minicamp, you don't know how to do punt footwork, you're losing reps.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
So it even comes back to the same question. Is that you think that's a result of the coaching or just athletes like in this generation feeling a little bit
I think
more?
of both.
Yeah. So like what do you think leans more on that one?
I think I have my philosophy of NFL players is you shouldn't have to be coached at that level.
Yeah, good call.
You should know the scheme. The scheme should be laid out on the table, and then you should be able to coach yourself to fix whatever you got to fix. Like there should not be some direct coaching where you have to like, all right, you got to do this on your footwork, and you got to make sure that you put your foot in the ground here. Like if you got to do that, you shouldn't be there.
Gotcha.
So it is. I think it's more of what the player is willing to do. Just like Christian said, like you should be, and he's absolutely right. Like I mean, everybody. There's a lot of guys that think that they're going to be the number 1 wide receiver or the number 1 linebacker when they get to the NFL.
It's wild.
You got to play special teams, and you got to learn how to play that. That's how you last in the NFL.
Right.
You got to play special teams, and you got to learn how to do it. And if you don't, there's somebody out there that's willing to learn how to do it that can stay around for a long time and make a lot of money doing it, and then do it at a high level.
I think that's a lot of ego, though. You know what I mean? And I feel like coaching has changed, going back to your question, Jesse. I think coaching has changed because they let a lot of shit slide now.
Right.
And that's my fear with the NIL process is because guys are so worried about keeping kids instead of teaching young men to be men.
Right.
And that bothers me because then you get to situations like we have with certain circumstances. I'm not going to say who, but like you have guys not showing up to meetings for an opportunity you've been wanting since you were a kid.
Right.
Are you fucking crazy?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, though, I think where the world is going, I'm not even just gonna say it's coaching. I just think where the world's going, we give a lot of people easy ways out, right? Like back when we were growing up, bro, you just said you were playing outside, playing football as a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Bro, you wouldn't see that nowadays. You won't see kids getting together, be like, yo, Christian, hey, grab that football, bro. Meet us down at the hill.
Really? That doesn't happen?
Just for you, Vinny.
No, for real. Like we used to do that.
It doesn't happen no more.
No, the kids don't. I don't really see very many kids.
Yeah.
At all.
Like
Sports
Thanksgiving
are like
days is
lacking.
when I see kids out playing football.
Yeah.
Really?
Like we used to play every day. Like I'm
Every
talking
day.
about,
We
like,
play hockey. We play street hockey,
everything. Street
basketball,
hockey.
everything.
Literally
nice.
anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't play hockey in real life,
They-
but I
they
was
can't
I.
even.
I think it's more like the culture. It's how kids. It's how the culture's gone to this
Video
point
games and
where,
shit.
like, dude, you guys would be surprised. Like, people come in the locker room and they honestly think that they've made it, and that might be the only point that they might say that they made it to that point. But like, the harsh reality is, during OTAs, there's 90 guys in there.
Yeah.
That's getting cut in half, and the reality of it is that upstairs they probably know out of the 53, they probably already know 35 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You say then there's probably 18 that are like, okay, these are maybe, and out of those 18, I'd say 10 of them they're probably like that we're leaning towards that guy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's probably like 7, 6, 8 spots you're fighting for.
Yeah.
Out of every position.
It's crazy.
And dudes come in and miss meetings and shit. It's wild.
It blows my mind, bro.
Yep.
Just the detail that used to be in life, bro. Like watching you snap and seeing how detailed you are just in warm ups, bro. Like I coach high school football, bro. Like I'm on kids' asses on a 24/7 just by being detailed about themselves, not even about the actual scheme of the play. Just be detailed as a man. Like like wake up, do your shit on time, and you'll be good, right? But like when you see guys like Christian or you see guys who are still in the league and they take a lot of time into their craft, I'm like, bro, I genuinely believe this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. When people ask me what's the difference between somebody who's an NFL All-Pro or a guy who's playing for the All-Stars, whatever it may be, right? That guy continued to train like he was in college.
Right.
He didn't stop training. Like some guys you see, like they don't pick up a weight after they make it to the NFL, or they don't care to do the extra anymore, bro. Like Christian still looks like a linebacker. He might be a long snapper, but he looks like a linebacker.
Yeah.
You feel me? So the guys who really take that piece serious, to me anyway, is like when I had an opportunity, like you said, the Steelers are right next door to Pitt. Okay, so you can watch anything that you want to watch.
Yep.
Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, who else was it? And Minka, right? While everybody else is sitting on their helmets, you see it at practice, sitting on their helmets.
Minka,
They're over there running gassers while practice is still going. You will see that in college maybe, but you're not going to see that at a professional level. Like you said, you're expected just to know what the fuck you're doing. But those guys who continue to train that way, from what I've seen, are typically those guys that you see with the big bank, you know what I'm saying? Like Aaron Donald.
Yep.
Boy was 290 with a 6-pack, 8-pack.
Yeah.
What are we talking about, bro?
Right. I mean, there's also a fear too. Like you got to have some type of fear that somebody's coming for your job.
Right.
Always.
And that has to push you. Like there's difference. There's the guys you're talking about. That's a different mentality. That's like, I want to be the greatest.
Right.
And I'll do whatever it takes to be the greatest. But then there's like the middle tier where it's like, I have to work 110% and 10% even more harder than everybody else because I don't want somebody to come in and take my job, because that is the name of the game in the NFL. Right. Every year they have a draft. Right. And they're looking to replace you.
Yeah.
So if you have that fear, a little bit of somebody taking your job, you will bust your ass every day to try to keep that job.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you guys see that operating? Like I think life operates in a pendulum effect where it swings back and forth. Like one time was super gritty, now it's getting a little softer. Do we see that like swinging back or even meeting in the middle a little bit, like with your perception on watching things from the outside and development, or are we like years out before it starts actually swinging back? Perfect example is just like more even a positional situation, running backs. Like everybody wanted to be Barry Sanders. Now it's like Saquon and Derrick Henry go for almost like a minimum for their position, and now you see those guys top of the charts, and now it's like, all right, running backs are probably going to get paid. Are we going to see like guys like getting a little bit more gritty, like really busting their asses and realizing like this shit ain't what it is anymore? Like we got to get back to the roots.
I think so. I mean, you see more guys taking pay cuts to be able to pay other people to win. We guys want to win, dude.
Yeah.
Like you get like. It gets old.
Yeah.
You want to fucking win. Like everyone wants to win a Super Bowl. Everyone wants to win the division. Like,
right.
So I do see it coming back because I think more guys, the salary cap's going up. Guys are starting to get absolutely paid. Like they could take a little pay cut to pay somebody else to make the team better. And I think that's especially with like how you see the trajectory of the league going. Like Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, the Eagles with Hurts and their dominant front. Like. Burrow, like the quarterbacks that are in it, like you're going to need to sacrifice in other areas to be able to compete with those teams. So I do see it coming back.
Yeah, and don't they like have it set up like that too, where you get like the payments where it's like, oh, we'll just give you a bonus for this year, and then we're going to take money off of that. Isn't that like a whole
like a signing bonus? You kind of restructure the deals to kind of add to the cap.
Yeah, and you could add cap space for 3 years down the road by taking somebody's. There's so much shit that they can do,
Makes it
but.
easier.
I do see it coming back where guys are taking more pay cuts because they want to win. The money's great, but at a certain point when you hit a certain amount of money, like for some of these guys, like I feel like it's more so legacy. Like they like TJ Watt wants to fucking win.
Yeah,
plain and simple. Like Cam or those dudes want to win. Minka, that's all they care about.
That's so different too, bro. Because I genuinely feel this, bro. Like kids need to hear stuff like that, bro. Because I feel like everybody with TikTok and Instagram, they're chasing fame instead of just chasing something that you actually love. Like it bothers me because I genuinely believe I didn't make it to the league because I stopped dreaming about the dream I had as a kid, right? Like, you give up on that dream, right? You just like, I'm going to be a normal guy now.
Yeah.
I feel like the guys who make it to the NFL are guys who never stop dreaming and they keep grinding until they touch it, right? And then at some point in time when you're in college or maybe even at a point in time in the NFL, you're like, this might not be me, may not be for me no more.
Yeah.
You stop chasing that dream you chased as a kid, bro. Like, who would have thought a kid from Chartiers Valley playing for the same hometown team and grinded his ass off after having a broken neck, fucked up kidney, a couple other shits. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you chased it, though. You know what I mean? Like, these kids are not chasing dreams no more. They're chasing being on Twitch, or they're trying to get the most followers they can possibly get, bro. Like, the things that we thought were cool and amazing and glorious, these kids just want to go and do a TikTok dance and just make themselves famous. I respect it, but it's just not the same.
I think one of the things, and I want to hear what you think about this too, because obviously your mindset, like you said, played a big part in your success. So like, I think the tragedy is like now people are finding out, you know, I can go this social media route. It's a lot easier to like get the clicks and the likes, but you find out that like, if you don't have the right mindset when you get there, it's like just as hollow as if you don't have the right mindset and you get the opportunity with the football, like, or with the sport or whatever. It's like if you don't have the right reason for why you're doing it, if it's just for the fame, you're gonna get to the NFL and burn out. If you do the TikTok just because you want to get all the views, but you don't even like making the TikTok, like, you're gonna burn out. So like, I think mindset has everything to do, like the why. You know, like, why do you want to be on TikTok? Well, I want to be on TikTok because I want to launch a brand, and that brand's going to help these people, and we're going to do this, and this with it. That's different than just being like, I just want to be like viral or whatever, you know? So like,
and I think the mindset, it should be, at least like my mindset always has been, is the bigger picture. Like, and you have to be planning for the bigger picture before it happens. And you know, my mindset has always been like, okay, I played 6 years in the NFL. I didn't make millions of dollars, but I made it to the NFL. Like, what else can I do? Why can't I apply in real life? You know, how I got to the NFL, because all that stuff still works in other areas. Like, I would always think like, okay, whenever the NFL is over, what can I do with my experience and my mindset and my grit and all those, you know, cliches of getting to the NFL and apply it somewhere else. Like, that's the big picture. Like, you always have to be like 3 steps ahead and saying like, okay, if this doesn't work out, this is where I'm going to go. If that doesn't work out, that's where I'm going to go. And then give yourself options and say like, okay, what am I good at? What can I apply what I learned here, you know, as an NFL player or even growing up to try to be successful as a football player, but apply it to real life, because you know, you can make money a lot of different ways. And be successful a lot of different ways. And that's kind of where I was a little bit sheltered. Like, growing up, I just thought, you know, you just had to be an athlete. Like, it was just all about football. Like, and I wish if I could go back to change something, it would be like expand your horizons, ask more questions about other things. Like, I was so like shielded whenever I did stop playing football of like what was going on. Like, I didn't know what like a CEO was. Like, I'm like, a CEO? I was like, what, you mean like a head coach? Like, you know, I didn't know like business or anything. Like, but if you can learn that stuff while you're doing what you're doing, you can plan for the future and apply the things that you learn you know, directly into what you're going to do next, and still have the same rush and exhilaration that you got from what you're doing currently.
Yeah, like what I asked you before, like with the fan, like I feel like you've taken everything that you've done from growing up, you know, sports, and now your job, you're like, dude, I talk about sports. It's great. It's so you just apply those principles to whatever you want to do, and like you're playing a professional sport, but you're in the media. You're in the media right now.
Yeah, I'm not getting hit, and it's great.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm not.
Do you ever get tired of talking about sports, or do you? So what's like something else that you're like, man, I want to talk about this next?
Horror movies. Horror movies. I love horror movies. I'm a horror movie buff. I write on some websites about, like, in blogs and stuff about. Yeah.
Okay.
For real?
Yeah.
What's the best horror movie of all time?
I mean, mine is Candyman. It's because it scared. It was the one that scared me. Like, I never was like scared. Like, when I was little. I mean, I started watching horror movies when I was like 5, and like Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, you know, Chucky, Child's Play. Like, none of that scared me. But I remember, I think I remember whenever I watched Candyman, and I was at like a babysitter's house, and she put it on. And I don't know if it was because, like, what'd you say?
Terrible babysitter.
Yeah, you're right.
Or
a little bit. Or, yeah, it kind of it brought something out in me.
Toughen you up.
Like, I watched Candyman, and I don't know if it was the fact that it was a black dude that was a horror villain. But it was something
Representation.
that just, it got me. And I couldn't even go to, I mean, I'm talking about even when I was at Pitt, I wouldn't go to the bathroom with the light off. Like, I couldn't shut my door, just because of Candyman. So, like, years go by, and I'm playing for the Titans, and I've always been a horror movie fan, but years go by, and I was playing for the Titans, and I found out that there was, it was one of my days off, there was a horror movie convention there, and Tony Todd, who played Candyman, was going to be there, and I'm like, I got to meet him.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, I got to confront my fears. So I went up and I met him, and I told him, like, Tony, honestly, man, like, you ruined my childhood. Like, I was so scared of you. He's like, Dorin, this is not a confession. I'm not a father. And he, like, tipped his hat to me. He was like, but we can go out and get a drink, and you could explain more. So I became really good friends with Tony Todd. Candyman, he just passed away a couple months ago, so tore me up really bad. But, you know, he showed me, like, how nice and just how normal some of those people are, and just digging into his mind, like how do you just turn it on and off? And I'm so fascinated by actors and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
well, would you do some acting?
Oh, yeah, I would love to.
You're actually pretty good at the impersonations that you did. You did like 3 of them.
Oh, yeah. I got 1,000 impersonations.
So like, you and Highsmith got to get together, yo.
Yeah.
Alex can do some good ones.
Yeah. He's he plays in the softball game every year too. So I see Alex a lot. But yeah, like, I mean, became friends with Tony, and then became friends with the guy who played Jason Voorhees, Kane Hodder, and he sent all kinds of, like, signed pictures and stuff to my house. So I have a whole room full of, like, all kinds of signed stuff, and kind of confronted my fears as I got older. But
That's pretty sweet.
I've always been always loved horror movies and stuff and acting, and just getting into their mind and stuff. Like, how do they turn it on and off?
Yeah, does that fascinate you? Like, okay, so you did your thing, you perform at a high level, you're elite in your life, right? Like, now when you, like, get to venture out a little bit and see other people in, like, because they're doing a sport too, like, and that's what's great, the transition from like off the field and, like, different careers, and you're talking about how things develop. So, like, do you look at that and you go, like, they're training just like how I did, but different, and, like, all of this prepares you for life, in just different aspects. So is that cool for you to, like, watch and see that?
Oh yeah, because you think everything is easy, like you can do everything, and I do think that I could do everything, but like I know personally that it's a lot harder than what it looks like. I mean, you got to go to acting classes, you got to do this, you got to do that. I mean, even little things fascinate me. Like, if I'm going to the dentist, I'm like, you're telling me, like, you can take that little drill. Like, when did you figure out that you wanted to drill into teeth and fix teeth? Like, teeth are this big and the drill is this big. Like, how? Like, that's an insane talent. Like, brain surgery. Like, those are the real people. Like, those are the real talented people. Like, to fix people, to cure people. Like, that stuff. All that stuff fascinates me.
It's crazy. So, like, I didn't look at it that way until I think I became a professional football player and, like, a professional long snapper, to be more specific, because, like, I look at it as more of a specific task, and then I look at other jobs like being a doctor or like playing in the NHL. Like, what comes with how's their stuff relatable to mine, and like, you just appreciate different professions, because, like, I don't know, you're so locked into yours, and you realize, like, I got one profession to one thing to focus on, snapping, whatever, and I just, like, dude, the acting stuff is crazy. Like, I think about Heath Ledger and Batman.
I do a great Joker impression, by the way. I used to get paid to do Joker impressions.
Run it if you can.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am tonight's entertainment. I only have one question. Where is Harvey Dent? Why so serious? You see, my father was a drinker and a fiend. You want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, dude, that's great.
That's great. See, but this is the thing I'm talking about, Christian. Like, I respect people's primal state. People say flow state, I say primal state. And the reason why I say primal is, like, I'm obsessed with animals. They know. I have my own fun. But with that said, though, I'm obsessed with animals. I have my own fun. I have my own fun. The reason why I say, wait a minute. I watched Discovery Channel. I watched Discovery Channel for no bullshit for 10 hours straight at one point in time. Like, as a kid, like, that was my thing. I love animals. I do.
He does show me a lot of animal videos.
I do. I do love animals. Let me finish my story.
Let him finish.
Pause.
I always say Trey's like the dude in Family Guy. I was like, damn, nature, you scary.
Yeah, I am. I ain't gonna lie, I am. And the reason why I say I am is because, like, like, I get really deeply invested into, like, the killers in the wild. And the reason why I say that is because, like, they go into a primal state. And especially for athletes, like, we hunt at some point in time. You know what I mean? But what I love is like, when I see other people's professions and they go into that primal state. Like
Yes.
he's an artist. So when he's painting, I see the same look on his face that I see on his face when he's snapping the football. Or when he's making a shoe, Jesse, because my man Jesse's different. You feel me? Like when he's deeply into it, he's like, you can't take them out of it. You could be talking to them and they don't hear you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, like I get obsessed about people who they tap into another world inside their head when they're doing a specific thing. So again, going back to animals and why it's weird for me with animals, right? Animals do the same thing if you just watch closely enough, right? Because we all hunt in our own way. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're trying to do acting, right? You probably hunted that goal and that obstacle in terms of the Joker voice for hours on hours on hours until you actually got to where you wanted to be. It's the same concept. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, like when I see other people doing other things, like if you're really good at piano, bro, how long did it take you? Because I'm curious. I'm watching you flowing in. This man's going crazy. You know what I'm saying? So like I got a high appreciation from an animal to a goddamn human on their flow state, right? Or their primal state.
But I'll never forget one time I called into a show and it was a horror movie show, and it was Kane Hodder, a guy who played Jason Voorhees. You guys know who Jason is, right? Hockey mask. And he knew me at the time, and I was like, "Hey, Kane, this is Dorin. I have a question for you." He's like, "Hey, what's up, Dorin? Like, I haven't talked to you in a while." He's like, "What's your question?" And I was like, "What does it feel like to put on that hockey mask and to just go into Jason character, kind of like what you're talking about?" I'm like, "What kind of rush comes over you where you're Jason Voorhees? Like everybody knows who Jason is. Like everybody, and you get to put on that mask, and then you get to act like you're that guy." What does that feel like? And he had a quick response to me. You know what he said? Just like putting on a helmet in football. He was like, just like how you put on a helmet where you're a different guy and you go out there and you hunt that prey. You hunt those people and you tackle and you hit. He's like, the same thing. He's like, you're putting on a mask. And I kind of relate that to radio too. Like whenever a mic is in front of my face, like I'm in my zone. Like, I mean, it's just like playing football. That's when I kind of full circle of talking about like the things that you do that you could still replicate in the other things that you do. Like I look at whenever I hit that mic on in the morning, like I'm strapping up, like I'm buckling up my chin strap and I'm playing football.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, like, talking about all these things, I think with the things that people excel in, like whether it's like sports, acting, art, whatever, the way I see it, and I wanted to ask your perspective on this as you were describing, like, the point of getting into the league, isn't this just all training grounds for life? Like, not just the sport, not just the thing that you do, and you master a craft. Now, like you were saying, I made it to the NFL. It's like, well, shit, what else can I do? It's training grounds for life. Like, all we're doing is training for the next thing in our life. So, when people get removed from sports or they have the thing taken away, it's like that should never be seen as like, well, my identity's dead. No, it's like I finished boot camp in the thing that I excel at. So what's the next thing? And I just wanted to kind of get both your perspectives just because like, one's in it and you're in a different angle of it now, but like I'm sure you feel unstoppable.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I proved that to myself, and that's what life's about. It's proving to yourself that you can believe it in yourself. And I think and that's why I think football is a beautiful game, and all sports are, but obviously we play football. Yeah. It's beautiful because nothing else matters but winning, and you learn so many lessons from football that aren't football. Like, you learn like you're sometimes you're lined up next to a white guy, like, and you have to get a job done, and nothing else matters. Like, there's all kinds of racism outside of us, but right now we are playing to win. Like, you learn lessons like that. You learn about different cultures, different people, how people grew up, and you meet their families, and just you ask questions. You learn so much and then whenever you push yourself physically, it's kind of the lessons I learned. Like whenever you get to that point where you can't do it anymore, and then you do it, you're also training your mind even more. I think your mind gets it times 10 as your body gets it, because then now, like, I don't have to push my body physically, but my mind is built up so much from the physical, training that I had in my life that you go to the roof. Yeah, that does translate. Like when you're in there too, like so many different walks of life where people come from. Like, bro, we got a guy on our team that's a lawyer. Like no one knew that. He didn't tell nobody. Like he's, I don't know if he kind of keeps it private, but he's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Like, and I found that out because Coach T was like, "Hey, you know anything about it? Like, is he a lawyer?" I'm like, "I'm gonna find out." He's
someone
like,
on the Steelers roster right now is a lawyer.
Yeah,
I need to get with him.
Can we guess?
You probably won't. I mean, I mean, I can't say his name. I don't know if he's open about it, but yeah, he's a lawyer.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Well, it would have to be an older guy because law school's long. So let's kind of break it down.
Older guy. Okay, that's at least bare minimum 5-6 years in the league. Bare minimum, right or wrong.
You
get a position.
You would think.
You get a position.
I'm not giving any position.
It's definitely Russell.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
Unlimited.
Is it somebody? All I want to know is it a surprising human? Like somebody you're like, that guy? Like, and not a slight to him. Not a slight, but is it?
this isn't a slight to him either. I don't know if you guys are going to know him.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
He was on the practice squad.
Are you a lawyer?
Yeah, right.
You trying to get
Well, could you imagine Christian?
I might be.
What would you specialize?
Dude, I
Divorce court.
Let's go to family law.
family law. No, I don't know. I
You
cannot
would be a good divorce court lawyer,
Yeah.
like on like public television.
Yes,
like
yeah,
you're
exactly.
just deciding. and
Yeah.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
like Judge Judy.
Yeah, you'd
Or
be a good
Maury.
judge,
You'd be a
dude.
hilarious Maury.
We're
You are
talking about
not
the
the
training
father.
gowns.
Oh, I'd love to do a Maury show.
Yeah.
Or Jerry Springer show. Like,
Jerry
imagine being the
Springer? I
host
was
of
just
Jerry
thinking that.
Springer.
Bring it back.
Dude, that'd be unbelievable. I'd be like, fight right now. Fight right now. Whose kid is it?
It's just me and Trey.
All right, well, Dorin, I appreciate you coming in there. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you back-to-back podcasts. Boys, I appreciate you. Season 1, episode 33. 33, we're rolling. I do my little dance after this. You'll like this.
You got to dance.
I got to dance. It's-